on social media.
That's how we stay connected.
Which is ironic because that's what I'm talking about tonight.
So for those that don't know, this is Georgianne Austin. She's a longtime friend. She's actually was my maid of honor.
Oh, nice.
She hated me in the beginning, but then I kind of like wore her down until she
Bridezilla?
loved me. No.
It goes back further than that.
Georgianne that she was being Bridezilla, not you.
Georgianne, was I Bridezilla?
I think your mom was closer to Bridezilla than you.
I can see that.
Oh yeah, well, you know, not my mom. No, Georgianne and I go way back. We were actually, I was actually doing some merch and marketing for video games, Xbox, and Georgianne was really good at her job. So she was very much like, why are you here? What are you doing? Are you doing it right? Let me help you do it right.
I'm not a micromanager. What are you talking about?
Yeah, she takes pride in her work, which is absolutely why I definitely wanted to have her come on, because we're also fellow digital nomads. So we, just like Elijah and I, we travel in our RV everywhere. Georgianne was the one kind of coaching us through, hey, you got too much kitchen stuff. Like, you got to get rid of that stuff. You got to throw like basically all of this away. It's not going to fit. I didn't believe her. She was right. So
I said somehow the shoes still fit.
So let me tell you a little bit officially about Georgianne. She's the marketing director for Escapees RV Club. Go figure. She holds a BA in communications from Texas State. Woo-hoo.
Go Bobcats!
In her time at Escapees, she has launched and assisted in the launch of numerous services, educational programs, and recruitment efforts, in addition to growing and maintaining, now this is the important part here, the club's 15-plus social media accounts across 6 different platforms.
Oh.
So today we're going to talk about building a foundation for a nomadic community, because how do you build something where everybody is everywhere all the time, anywhere they want to be? So Georgianne, I will let you go ahead and introduce yourself. I hope I did you justice here.
Oh, yeah. Well, that sounds a little familiar. No, thank you so much for that, Christy. And I do enjoy the irony in what I titled the speech, that it's like, do nomads really need a foundation? Like, if you don't live in a house, like thinking about the whole like house structure, like foundations are something that tend to stick around when you're going to stay in one place. And it's definitely been an interesting adventure to see how the way that people's lives go when they decide to travel full time, and like the idea of foundation becomes completely different, but it's still a necessity. There's something about having that feeling of stability, even when you're permanently moving, that it becomes really important. And so I've been with Escapees now for about 2 years. I actually, I took the job as an intern when I was still finishing up at Texas State, and I was happy to learn that they enjoyed the work I did enough to go ahead and hire me on full time. And so it's been about 2 years, and I took the position not knowing much of anything about RVing beyond, I knew what they looked like. I knew that there were lots of different kinds. I didn't know they all had different names or that they all did different things. And so it was a ton of fun actually to kind of jump in head first. And I was really fortunate that within weeks of me taking my internship, I was invited to head out to Arizona for 3 weeks and live out of my car in a tent in the middle of the desert with a whole, I think it was 250 or something like that RVers. And I went back out earlier this year for my 3rd year in a row, and our gathering had grown from, I think we had about 100 rigs at the first gathering, and this past year we had 400 plus. So
wow.
We had, it was about 1,000 RVers wandering in and out of our camp out in the middle of the Arizona desert. And I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. It's such a cool experience, and I'm so lucky to have been able to tap into this community and jump in head first. I would love to be able to travel alongside them as much as they do. Unfortunately, my job and other life requirements keep me a little bit more stationary than I sometimes would like. But it's a fantastic, amazing journey. And it's so fun to watch other people fulfilling their dreams just by getting to travel before they're retired. Like, it's been awesome.
Georgianne is like, I live in an RV. It's a bumper pool, so it's a travel trailer. I have a truck that pulls it. It has a bathroom. Georgianne is a serious digital nomad, and she like rigged her whole entire SUV to be her basically her living, her cutting board, her everything in the back of her house. And
Nice.
I was like, where are you going to the bathroom? And she pulls out this 10-gallon like plastic bucket. And I was like,
Hey, there was never a bucket. Give me
I
some
was like,
credit.
no.
There was never a bucket. It was a proper camping toilet eventually.
Okay, it was a proper camping toilet that also happened to look like a 10-gallon bucket. But she seriously did it. Like, I couldn't, going out there and being with them and building that community and creating all that content, I'm sure was just absolutely amazing.
Oh yeah. There's nothing like it. And even though the whole toilet situation was a little awkward at times, because when you're out camping in a tent and you're like tricked out vehicle, you're still camping next to people who have like $500,000 Class A RVs that are looking at you like, have you bathed lately? Yes, I have. Thank you very much. I have learned the power of like truck stop showers and that sort of thing where you can stay clean and stay hygienic even when you're living in a big pile of sand.
Doesn't matter as long as you're clean, right?
Yes.
Don't stand in places you can't see.
Let's not go there. Okay, so I guess to talk more about this community and give you guys some productive information instead of scary nightmares for tonight.
I'm sure we're giving some good laughs. So I think So how does one build a foundation or a community for ones that technically don't have a foundation?
It's a lot of fun, and I'm going to actually start this off with a fun story. I think I shared with you a little bit the other day, but it still sticks with me, and I'm not going to lie. I get goosebumps sometimes when I think about it because it's pretty fantastic. But so in 2015, March of 2015 is when my company's president and vice president, Travis and Melanie, decided to launch this group of more digital nomad type RVers called Escapers. And it's a subgroup of our larger membership. We've got about 60,000 members total. And at this point, we're looking at around 8,000 of them. And I think our last count in April, 8,000 of them are self-identified escapers. So more than 10% of our total club in a matter of 3 years has become part of this digital nomad, Generation X type, let's get out there and have fun and work from the road type of RVer. And so during one of the group's really early convergences, I think it was the Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta in 2015, a couple of drinks into a night of socializing, our president thought it would be fun to challenge our members to tell them, if you get the Escapers logo tattooed on your body, I will give you a free lifetime membership. And thankfully, most people either didn't take him seriously or thought that, or by the next morning didn't remember the conversation even happened, which that's a thing when you come to a convergence. And so what was kind of cool though is 3 years later, it actually happened in January of this year when we were all out in Arizona again, at our big annual bash that we do every January. What began as a joke 3 years ago was finally actually taken as a call to action.
Really?
And as of May of this year, Travis's little joke has cost our company $9,000.
Wait, do you have pictures of people that have the tattoo?
Oh, I have that. I'm getting to that. I'm about to steal your screen in just a minute.
So
What was really funny to me is, so they're telling, because I'm coming in still kind of new, getting used to like what my marketing budget is and that sort of thing. So I'm thinking, oh my goodness, if I made that kind of mistake, I would lose my job, or at least like get a pretty serious slap on the wrist. And so I was kind of worried about it. I was like, that would make sense, right? Well, apparently no, because that $9,000 represents members of Escapers who are so tapped in and connected to their nomadic tribe, to this community, that they proudly permanently display their affiliation to this club. And that is the power that community holds. When you can find that, I mean, tribe is such a buzzword right now, but when you can find that group of people that are just part of your soul, it's I mean, of course you would jump in hook, line, and sinker and not look back. I would do the same. And I love that, like, that's the power of community. And that's the power that social media has over people. And it's a good thing. Sometimes social media can be scary, but this is pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's the point. Sometimes it can go one way, but a lot of the time it can go another.
Exactly. And so I'm actually going to show you this here. Let me see if I can get this to work for me correctly. So we actually did a blog post not that long ago. It was back in, I believe, April of this year, April or early May, where so thankfully Travis limited, once he realized what he had done, he limited the total signups to the first 10 people so that we would only lose 9,000 and not the entire club. And so this is actually, Scott is one of the first ones that did it. And with everybody, we asked them to tell us, what does escapers mean to them? Explain why they chose to get the tattoo, and then tell us a little bit more about their RVing story. And so what I've done is I've gone through that blog post, and there are a couple of things that really stood out to me that I think really are important to what you guys are doing today with this National Social Media Day, and helping people see the importance of social media and the importance of using it to the best of its ability, the fullest of its ability. So in addition to talking about how Scott came across escapers, one of the things that stood out to me is, here quoting him, we barely knew our neighbors when we lived in our sticks and bricks neighborhood, which, if you aren't familiar with RVing, sticks and bricks refers to what you would think. It's the house that's built on a foundation with your frame and everything. And so he said, however, we've made so many great friends, and we love meeting up and staying connected through social media. We really feel like we belong to a true community. And I can't say I can't express how proud that makes me of the kind of work that we do, because I mean, regardless of what industry you're working with or what community you're working with, when you can make someone feel like they have found their people, especially when in an RVing type situation, you spend a lot of time on your own. You're out, maybe if you're traveling with your partner, it's not quite as lonely, but there's times when you're out there on the road, and sometimes it can feel like days on end before you find someone that you actually connect with. And even though RVers are an incredibly fun and welcoming group of people, that doesn't mean you're going to be a best friend with everyone you meet. And so to help people find this type of community and tie into it, is really rewarding. And so that's one of the things I absolutely love about what I do. Even the days when stuff gets a little bit frustrating, because as a marketer, sometimes it gets frustrating when things don't quite go your way, or that test or that plan you had doesn't quite come to fruition the way you wanted it to. I still, this is one of the things that makes it totally worth it for me. And so here is another one of our tattoo getters, our brand ambassadors, I guess, at this point. And he says the RV friends become fast friends, and he's connected with many people really deeply. I continue to meet up with escapers I had met at Q, which Q refers to Quartzsite, Arizona, which is the big annual thing I mentioned in January. We met up with escapers that he had met in Q along the road and kept in touch with new friends via social media. Going to Q that year changed my life on the road. I went from being oftentimes lonely to having a network of traveling friends. I socialized more on the road than I did when I was in a sticks and bricks. And that's another one of those things that just, I mean, I don't know, there's not really a way to put a accurate description on it. It's just that one of those things that community is so important, and it's something that you take advantage of a lot when you don't even realize it. And so there are a lot of ways that you can build community, and especially in today's technological times when there's things like social media and all these different kinds of chat platforms you can use, even as a remote worker, to stay tied into the community of your employee, your fellow coworkers. It's just one of those things that you've got to, you just take advantage of it. That's what it's there for. It's might as well, it could be an ugly, bad thing, but if you work hard enough, you can make sure that you get the good stuff out of it too. And so one of the things that I find kind of funny is so how did we manage to convince people that branding themselves was a worthwhile endeavor? Because I mean, to be honest, I don't even buy clothes that have an outward brand on them. So how on earth did we get people to permanently ink themselves with, hey, I belong to this company, this club, this group? Well, the key here, the fun part is that we didn't convince them. And let me explain a little bit more, although I'm pretty sure you know where I'm going with this. And so Escapers was launched to support digital nomads, which, as we've talked about, is a generation of people who've taken advantage of technology and they choose to work from wherever in the country their feet, their wheels, or their wings may take them. Or I guess not their wings, but. And as you may expect, many choose this approach to life as a means to explore their independence and to live outside the box and try a different lifestyle when the status quo hasn't worked for them. And unlike some of their retired counterparts when it comes to RVers, escapers and other digital nomads are frequently on the move. They don't tend to stay set up in RV parks for too long, or in a lot of cases, they're not even in an RV park. They're out in what we call boondocking, finding a place out in the middle of nowhere to enjoy nature for a little bit. And so this being on the move makes it really difficult to find and make friends and to build relationships and to create a support system for yourself, similar to what you would enjoy when you're in a sticks and bricks type home, when you're in a permanent address. Even if your family and your friends are spread across the country, you still have that stability and that support network more easily within reach when you're stationary. And of course, for families that are traveling with children, which is definitely a thing, road schooling is what it's referred to whenever you take your kids on the road and homeschool them while you're traveling. But for families traveling with children, those feelings of isolation and loneliness are even more problematic, because that's an important part of a lot of children's experience, is being around people and learning social skills and just learning about themselves through interacting with other people. And the RVing lifestyle also presents an entirely different set of challenges and concerns that aren't even really a consideration in a traditional situation.
No.
So for example, when's the last time that you had a mountain of dried poop clogging your black tank and you couldn't flush?
I don't want to answer that.
Yeah, no. And Christy may be familiar with this one too, but like, for example, I hear this a lot from new RVers. When they're heading down the highway and they're excited to get to their first destination and they're doing their thing, and they hit a pothole that they don't see coming and hear all of their glassware shatter in the cabinets. That's not only not a fun mess to clean up, but you've already lost whatever you invested in your glassware in a matter of the first 5 miles of your new adventure. That's kind of disheartening.
Glassware anymore.
Yes. And one of my favorite parts, and I hear this too, and a kind of vindictive, sadistic part of me always laughs, even though I would hate if it happened to me. When's the last time that you literally woke up on the wrong side of the bed or on the floor because you didn't park quite as level as you thought you did, and your bed's just tilted enough that you're not very comfortable?
You might just be an RVer.
You might just be an RVer.
Exactly. And these are things that RVers deal with on a regular basis, sadly. I mean, thankfully, there's some things you can do to mitigate some of this so that doesn't actually happen to you, but it does. These things do happen to a lot of first-time RVers. And so it's different when you have people you can communicate with and interact with that get these things. I mean, Christy and I have had some entertaining conversations about all the things that can go wrong when you're RVing. And I get it. And I know that one of the things that we enjoy chatting about is that I get it, versus telling someone who's like, that's kind of gross. Like, why? What is a black tank? You carry that around with you everywhere?
It's a different lifestyle, and you have a lot of questions about it. And it's nice to talk to people that know what you're going through and that don't like squirm away when you mention things like Blackwater, or, the fact that you're traveling down the road with 13,000 pounds and you do hit that speed bump or whatever it may be, and your whole entire RV is just.
Your entire house, not just your RV, it's your home. It's everything you own just goes.
It's a little nerve-wracking.
Yes. Well, like you and I can often do, I just realized I'm quickly running out of time. I've been talking too much, so I'm going to speed through the next little bit to make sure that I get everything in that I want people to be able to take away from this. And so one of the things that we did, the team of us that are behind escapees and escapers, is we decided to use technology to our advantage. And of course, thankfully, there are things like Facebook and other social media that can help us do that. And so we took to Facebook to create kind of a virtual campfire. We started off with a business page and quickly found that that was not sufficient to meet the communication needs of our members. And so we moved that to a Facebook group. And you can find us facebook.com/group/escapers. You're welcome to join in if you're curious about RVing. And so we moved it to this and became a situation where we were able to just have these open conversations where people could communicate with each other and find someone that understood their perspective. When you're not when you're an RVer who's not retired yet, it's a very different experience. A lot of people assume that all RVers or most RVers are retired and they're just kind of having a lazy day on vacation kind of thing, just permanent vacation. That's not the case for a lot of digital nomads who choose to also be RVers. There's work you have to do every day. You have to have data connection for like a lot of people rely on wireless, on cellular data to get their work done and things like that. And it's a completely different set of challenges. And so what we ended up doing was our group has grown to about 7,500 members at this point, with more people getting added in every year. Our group doesn't have a lot of rules. It's basically, don't be rude to people. Don't come in and abuse our membership list as a way to sell your company or otherwise spam us. And then make sure you bring a sense of humor, because what's RVing if you can't laugh at the crazy things that happen to you? And of course it has to be RV related. And so with that, a lot of our content in our group is community led. We are very fortunate that we just have some really engaged members. We have a couple of members that we refer to as emissaries, and they are people who, as the club grew, they wanted to help out by hosting what we call convergences, which are some of our face-to-face gatherings that happen throughout the year, like the annual bash. We have smaller ones in other parts of the country. And so one of the great things about these emissaries is that they have a passion for the community, to help it grow, to help support their other fellow RVers. And so they, not only do they act as kind of almost like passive recruiters, just because they're so passionate, they share the excitement and people catch on to it. They're not out there trying to gain more members. They're just trying to help other people out. But they also serve as peer leaders in our Facebook group, helping to answer questions that come up, and also kind of encouraging. There's times when people get a little snarky or that sort of thing, and they kind of help guide that back into, hey, this person's new. We were all there once. Just remember, this happens. There's definitely still a lot of sarcasm in our group. I will not deny that, but that's what makes it so much fun, because it's a bunch of friends hanging out. Just nobody ever goes home.
So they're your ambassadors and your moderators in a way that help you kind of maintain this community, this group that you've created. So that's really cool.
Exactly. And we also use Instagram, but similar to what some people have said before, Instagram, it's great for building community, but it's more of a referral type situation where we use our Instagram to talk about events that are going on. It's the best place we have to talk about events as they're happening, putting live video up, putting photos, using hashtags and that sort of thing to let people know that, hey, this is what's going on. You can be part of the excitement. If you want to come join us, you're welcome to hop in, or here's what's going on at the next one, kind of thing. But in a lot of cases, we use Instagram more as a referral to get people into the Facebook group where they can tie into the digital community more. And then, of course, if it works out for them time-wise, or if their interest, they can join us at these convergences or the face-to-face gatherings, where I would say about 80% of our community engagement happens online, happens on social media, and the other 20% happens in face-to-face. These friendships are started through Facebook, where people can just talk to each other and that sort of thing, and discuss problems that are coming up and whatever the case may be, looking for advice. But then when the opportunity comes for them to meet up face-to-face, it's like they're running into their best friend. And it's a fantastic thing to see, where people who have felt so alone for a while just because they're out traveling on their own, they've been able to use that as a resource to make friends. And the lovely thing about RVers is they're constantly moving. So you may have to part ways for a couple of months, but that doesn't mean it'll be much easier later down the road to come back together again and not have to spend however many hundred on a plane ticket and hotel and rental car, because your house is with you. So you take your house wherever you feel like going. And so a lot of our members look to us also to bring them together, to foster this face-to-face kind of communication and to foster the community. And so we have about 10 convergences a year right now that have grown from, let me go ahead and pop this back up, that has grown from the 2 convergences we had in the first year. And so this is actually fantastic. Like, there's a convergence that just wrapped up in totally drawing a blank, in South Dakota a couple of days ago. And then next month, we're doing a Habitat for Humanity build. And then we're going to be all over the country. And of course, the annual bash is next year. But we have intentionally spread these events out across the country to incorporate and make more opportunities available for people who want to join in and tie into the community, but maybe they can't be quite as mobile. So we try to make sure we have some East Coast as well as West Coast stuff going on. And one of the things I love is seeing at these events, seeing these conversations that are started online, just as casual conversations become in-depth heart-to-heart discussions face-to-face. People will sit around a campfire and share a beer or 15 or a couple of cases. I mean, we've had a 4-hour-long Bloody Mary party before.
Nice.
And I promise the group does far more than just drink, but alcohol is a social lubricant. So sometimes it helps. And then we also do things like late night karaoke parties and dance offs and that sort of thing, where even though it sounds like that's crazy, that's totally not my cup of tea. And to be honest, I'm not a karaoke person. I don't go out there and dance, but to see that goofiness, people get to be that lighthearted with each other. There's a bond that happens. And then whenever they part ways and hop back on Facebook or whatever social media to reconnect with these people they became friends with at this event, those bonds are just strengthened over time, so that when they are able to come together again, they can still, it's just like picking up an old friendship kind of thing. It's a really fantastic thing to see. And listening to our members and seeing these things happen and talking to them and just really, it's social listening, but in a way, but it's more direct. Like we'll actually ask our members, hey, so we have these services available. How are we not meeting your needs? What can we do more to support you? And so it's through this kind of listening to our members that we created something called an RVer job exchange, which is similar to Indeed and other job hunt sites, but it's targeted more at RVers. That's one of the things I love is, as an RVer, you have a very, it's a very go-getter, self-starting kind of thing. Like, you're going to problem solve, you're going to take care of your own stuff. And it presents a different type of job skills and soft skills that a lot of companies can take advantage of. And so we have this program we started, and it's been a huge help to also help build this community and make them feel more supported. And it's this intentional use of social media to really just, I just totally drew a blank. Yes.
It's okay. I think that's really neat that you've managed to identify what you're through this group, be able to not only provide them with something that they're really, really needing, but it's also supporting and feeding your membership continually by doing so. And then branching it out into events, and then also branching it out into ancillary services and support for your members. So it's really just this whole little Facebook page, this group has expanded out into this other bigger concept. And it all started on Facebook. So I think that's really neat so how do you, and I know we're to time and we have another speaker, so I'll ask you one last question. How do you manage this all?
To be honest, I had to hire an assistant for the 50, because even though I've been talking primarily about our Facebook group and our Instagram account, we have Pinterest and other things out there that we use to help. It's kind of a recruiting tool to get people to understand the group is available, but then also it's other ways for us to support them through making information easy to find and that sort of thing. So to be honest, I have an assistant, but also one of the things that she and I have sat down and done is looked at the stats on our post for Facebook, Instagram, et cetera, look at the different markers and that sort of thing. And then, and see what content's most important to our members, what they react to the most. And then use that as a way to okay, so if this is what they're looking for, we need to give them more of this. And so she and I do a lot of research into breaking down those numbers and seeing what we can do, plus working with our larger marketing team and our leadership to do that, to get more of that information, that content out there.
That's great. So how can we find you?
Well, my email address is marketing@escapees.com in case you have any questions or anything specific to the social media part of it all. Also, escapers.com is the website for the subgroup. We also have escapees.com, which is for our larger 60,000 member RV club. And same thing on Facebook, you'll find Escapees RV Club or Escapers. And then again, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Twitter, all those different things. We have all of those.
Awesome. Georgianne, thank you for taking this time out of your evening and talking to us about how you've built this community. I know I get a lot of value from it myself, And it's just an emerging community that needs the support that you're providing. So that's awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. And I will see you soon, I hope.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for having me. Hopefully you get napped soon. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Right, bye.
And I'll stick around to see Peter.
Okay.
All right, bring Peter on here. Unmute him there. Start video. Peter!
Hey!
Peter! Want to chime
What are
in?
you guys doing?
Yeah, I guess